Welcome back to the First, the Last Nerdom, the podcast where we explore the first, the last, and everything in between across film, TV, and pop culture. And once again, we're diving into one of our favorite experiments, long-running experiments, Binge-worthy, question mark. The premise is simple. We pick a TV show we're curious about or want to revisit, watch the first three episodes, and then decide whether it earns a full binge or if it gets lost in the static. This week, we're heading into a surreal, neon soaked vision of the near future with the early 90s cult miniseries, Wild Palms. Produced by Oliver Stone and created by Bruce Wagner, Wild Palms is a strange blend of sci fi, conspiracy theory, or conspiracy thriller, and media satire. Set in a futuristic Los Angeles dominated by virtual reality and powerful corporations, the show dives into politics, religion, technology, and the uneasy feeling that reality itself might not be what it seems. Hello, Mandela Effect. In those first three episodes, Wild Palms throws a lot at you. Cryptic storytelling, dreamlike imagery, and a tone that shifts between eerie and outright bizarre. The question is, does that surreal, ambitious style pull you in more or leave you completely disoriented? We'll be breaking down the show's themes, its unique place in early 90s television, and whether it feels ahead of its time or trapped in it. So tune in, question reality, and don't trust everything on your screen. Is this binge-worthy? This is the first, the last, the nerdum. And this week we're stepping into Wild Palms. Good grief. Yes, we are stepping into Wild Palms. And so where do we start with this? Well, but first we'll start with paying the bills. And who are these guys? Who are these people? Well, I am ML, and Tom joins me. And this is the First Last Nerdom. Firstlastnerdom.com is our home base on the internet. You can see we've got some things popping there. And always also circle up with us on home base at YouTube at First Last Nerdom, where we are available everywhere, syndicated nationwide across the globe. And with that
Revolution's being televised.
yeah, with that lie, I will pass it on to Tom.
I'm on Reddit under First Last Nerdom as well. Try to promote ourselves on different subreddits. I'm also have a presence on X under First Last Nerdom, and I try to promote our stuff. I got a little behind, but I'll get us caught up here. While Mike tells us his X profile.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am a man astride a donkey turned the wrong way. And so what does that mean? Well, it means you can find me on X at SofaKingJewish_. And maybe, just maybe, we have one hell of a sci-fi year ahead of us, Tom. I don't know if you picked up on that or not, but Project Hail Mary's out there in the theaters. And then I believe at the very end of the year, we're going to have a treat of Dune Part 3. So this was kind of weird. What this show wasn't really a show per se, more than more like a mini series. It did have trappings of quality, obviously with Oliver Stone and Jim with Belushi as well. And I was going to say too, this has flirts with cyberpunk in a different kind of soap opera. It's very much was a soap opera. It had the weight of a soap opera, and it does flirt with aspects of Twin Peaks, although I would disagree with some of that. But you can see where some of it was. So I'm really curious to hear what you say. But I was going to say too, the funny thing is like this was made in the early '90s, but the near future to them was this unique world in Los Angeles in 2007. So it's kind of funny to kind of go back and see. This. But anyway, what do you think, my friend, of this one?
Yeah. So yeah, you got like I said, last week we did Max Headroom, which there was parallels with Cyberpunk, and William Gibson was a fan of Max Headroom show, and he actually wrote an episode for it that didn't get produced because I got canceled before it got could get produced. But this show, yeah, has ties to William Gibson. In fact, he's in it in a little
Hmm.
cameo. He shows up in the first episode. Yeah, this is the ABC event series,
It
heavily
was.
promoted at the time. I remember all the buzz. But yeah, it was coming off of Twin Peaks, which was another ABC venture. So ABC was that third main channel that was kind of in the dumps. They were trying to find something to catch fire, and so they were taking a lot of risk. And so yeah, this one was one of those that, if you like Twin Peaks, you might like Wild Palms. So yeah, there's a lot of heavy promotion about kind of spotlighting the weirdness of it. So yeah, it was definitely on my radar as far as something to check out. And I remember watching it. If you thought you might like a show, I would go ahead and would throw in a tape and tape it along with it. So, because you never know if it was ever going to be repeated or not. So, I remember taping this. So, I did have like a copy of it on VHS floating around for a while. I don't think I no longer have that. I think I dumped a lot of my VHSs whenever I moved back to Arkansas. But yeah, this is one of those shows that I was always kind of fascinated by it, especially with Bruce Wagner. I know he's written some novels. I always kind of flirted around with reading one of them, but I never did actually get around to it. He's sort of like in that weird thing where he's kind of writes sci-fi, but it's more drama, but it's also on the weird side, at least for what Wild Palms was. And I believe it was a graphic novel before it became a TV series. And yeah, I was always kind of fascinated that Oliver Stone produced it. He's not one of those guys I would put right there with, say, David Lynch.
Right.
Oliver Stone's major oeuvre. I've never really a huge Oliver Stone fan, but I've always been fascinated, enjoyed certain aspects of his career,
Oh yeah.
like
Yeah.
his movie that's based off a Quentin Tarantino script, with Woody Harrelson as the serial killer. That one was pretty interesting, although that was probably atypical, and this was kind of atypical for what I don't think he directed any of these episodes, but something that he would produce, you wouldn't immediately kind of pair Oliver Stone with it. But yeah, I was kind of fascinated and enjoyed it when it first came on. Although this time around, I don't know, at times it's kind of seemed like it was being weird for weirdness sake,
Mm.
in some aspects.
Yeah. I so I don't have any. I never saw this when it came out. Never was aware of it. Although ABC though I do remember certain sci-fi things that stand, and there's the seven up there that's going crack and bubbly.
Mhm,
That Tom just cracked
mhm,
open.
mhm.
Um, ABC, when it always kind of was kind of a third option, I guess. And in some ways, that's kind of how Fox ended up being too.
Mhm,
If you want to get down to it, and really, if you want to further expand on it, so is the CW. It kind of became
mhm,
like this kind of, or the UPN or whatever the hell. Doesn't matter. I'm old,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
Anyway, the point is ABC. I remember V.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a couple other. There's like a famous. There's a famous one it was on ABC. I remember for sure. It was the World of Worlds one with the street lights. It doesn't matter.
Mhm,
And I'm probably wrong on that anyway, so forget that one. But this one, I hear what you're saying. See, I was kind of the opposite, like where I guess I kind of so I'd never seen this before, and I kind of I'm fresh off the bench for like a good sci-fi, something like this, and it's
mhm,
so it was trying to do a lot and be a lot, and I think it does nail it for like what it was, and they had the budget and they had the runway. So this was a spiritual DNA to like what a mini series was back in the day. If it was really
mhm,
good, essentially was like the in between TV and a movie, but elevated a little bit more.
mhm.
So this does have
Yeah.
that prestige feel. I feel, but The thing that I could see though that where it could be grating, that there's a lot. Some '90s things comes through hard. Like it's just hard to describe what I'm talking about. But when you see it, you can't unsee it, and you definitely lived in that time frame, so you know what I'm talking about, like that. But
Yeah.
it to me it feels a lot more softer around the edges. Like when you kind of go into this like a soap opera. Like and I don't mean that in an insulting way. It feels like a soap opera,
Yeah.
a very well put together one. Twin Peaks didn't feel like that. It felt very different because it was so. I don't know how to describe it, but it's not Twin Peaks for sure, but I could see where people would, put that, if you had Twin Peaks had a baby with, Philip
Yeah.
K. Dick novel, boom, you probably have it. And Oliver Stone would be the one to deliver that baby.
Yeah, and this is yeah, and it has
That's
obviously
where the
kind of a
political side kind of comes in with him, in my
yeah,
opinion.
there's a California Hollywood kind of vibe to
Yeah,
Wild Palms that
yeah, that's a good way to
you
put it.
can't
Yeah, yeah,
you can't
yeah.
can't get away from it. It's definitely there. That yeah, the stronger aspects of it kind of play with that. Yeah, this is before Ben Savage had his own TV series. He's the creepy kid in this show.
Mm.
um but yeah, and it has actors that would eventually go on to work
Jim
with
Belushi.
David Lynch. Jim Belushi recently did Twin Peaks: The Return. And Robert Loggia worked with David Lynch. Most notably in he was in Mulholland Drive, wasn't he? And then but yeah, so there's a lot of actors that would normally work with David Lynch, so it does have kind of a little bit of that DNA in there as well. But not a whole lot. It's definitely telling its own story. Yeah, he was in Lost Highway with David Lynch. But yeah, yeah, Robert Loggia, definitely a force to reckon with. Him and Lawrence Tierney, I always kind of get them mixed up together. But yeah, if you want that gruff sort of mafia type guy, he's definitely a good one to pick.
Yeah, yeah. I think too why this works so well for me, and I don't know why. It took me a minute to really think about why I really enjoyed this. And
Hmm.
this is going to become something that is I'm going to fall in love with this for whatever reason. I think I know why,
Uh-huh.
or I think I might know. I think I might
Uh-huh.
think I know why. But anyway, the fact that this was like you had said at the top of the show, this was there's a graphic novel, there's a book, and then there's multiple attempts at putting this on some kind of a screen, whatever. Obviously, I'm not saying that there was more than one, but usually there are
Hmm.
with good that. And the same thing is true for William Gibson. And I'm not surprised because a lot of his writing, like I mean, he has a. I've read a lot of his books. He's a very good sci-fi punk, cyberpunk, whatever you want to call it. Stories. They're very good. Neuromancer. There are other very good. I believe he did Neuromancer, didn't he? Or I
Yeah.
might be wrong. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It feels a lot of this feels so similar, and I was like, why does this feel so similar? It feels prestige. I get that, and kind of some other things. It was the Gibson side, and it was the graphic novel, the book side, that I realized like this is what this would have been on Apple TV. I mean, this has the proto. Obviously, it would be like '90s, but it would have been. It attempts to do a lot of the things that Apple TV does with its sci-fi. So is Apple, I think, in my opinion, Apple TV has done better, more good for science fiction in the last 5 years than certain other properties that have oodles of money did in 15 years. I'll just put it that way, in my opinion. But Apple TV does these thought experiments that are sci-fi that normal people can get into. This is one of those things that normal people would be more likely to get into. Although it is, it's not. I don't think it's. I think it's too slow for its own good sometimes. But I think that's just the pacing. But that we'll get into this and kind of go back and back up here to talk about the situation in this patent lawyer. I think he's a patent lawyer.
Yeah.
But Harry Wyckoff, and he's discovering over time that his life, as he knows it, is not quite as perfect as it seems, or it's a little too perfect. And there's some other things that go in there too, where he's on his way up and others are kind of on his way down. But in reality, that's an illusion. Are you confused yet? It's not that confusing, but it is. It has. What do you want to call it? Drama, soap opera. There's a little bit of a noir going on in there. I could argue it's just the conspiracy thriller, as you had pointed out in the intro that you wrote up.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll pause there and then kind of set up to see where you want to go with the first episode, or if it worked for you, or because you actually saw this. So it sounds like this worked for you really well the first time, and then maybe this time maybe not so much. Or I'll pause. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'll pause there.
Yeah, I think yeah, it was ahead of its time, but it was also kind of a victim of its own time. You know, it sort
Mm,
of got that, like you said earlier, it's got that that '90s stink on it. You know,
yeah.
yeah, it comes off more soap opera than maybe if it was made today, it would have you know, it'd been widescreen. It would be much more picturesque. Yeah, it has a lot of that.
It
Kind of a jank that the
it
'90s TV would have had that has.
well. Well, at worst, I could easily see where it would come in and it hits you in all the wrong areas for nostalgia and for or maybe not nostalgia is the wrong word, but for '90s, it hits all the wrong notes in the '90s. I could see for some people it could be like that after school special, but in California, sure. I mean, because it is really soft on there, so you have to have some kind of uh, whether it's Jim that you want to see Jim Belushi in a sci-fi. What? You know, and you first you think it's going to be awkward, and it kind of is a little bit, but it works. I mean, like I said, there's quality here
Yeah.
in
Yeah, and you got Robert Loggia kind of chewing up the scenery. He's he's always fun to watch. And
right.
you have Brad Dourif being the weird guy that he always is. A lot of nice looking ladies in it. You got Dana Delaney, Kim Cattrall, BB Newirth,
Yep.
all putting in some solid work. But yeah, and you got this sort of this new technology of sort of VR, I guess you would say. They've got a new TV show that puts you right in the center. It seems like a more of a traditional um comedy show, but you're kind of like become a part of it. Um there's a lot of things going on in this show, and ideas that are kind of thrown at you, and you're never sure which ones you need to be paying attention to, or which are there just for the weirdness of them. But yeah, yeah, it's I was constantly kind of enjoying from scene to scene. I don't know if I was adding them all up together to get the full picture, but I was enjoying what I was watching. Yeah, in I don't know. I think Jim Belushi is sort of like a good person to have in the middle of it, because you know, he's known for his comedies but also his dramas, and you never know if in the show if you should be laughing or should you be intrigued, and you, like you said, there's sort of a noir, I would say maybe neo noir to this. You know, you got your patent attorney looking for a missing person from a former love,
Yeah,
where
Page.
they may have left things a little unfinished, and so yeah, there's a lot of tension there, a lot of interesting characters. I remember there was a big deal that Angie Dickinson was in it because she was sort of like an old guard TV, and here she was in this sort of on the edge show. One of the things that Wild Palms did have going for it at the time was, every time I would get into a TV series, it would get canceled. I was like, well, at least this is finite. You got your 5 episodes and you're done. So even, you wouldn't get the chance to be canceled because it'd be done with before. And I think that kind of works to its benefit in that it tells, the story it wants to tell, within that structure.
No, it does. I think it does if you when it works, if you allow it to work. The feeling it is unique, and that just underscores like how nothing back then looked or sounded like this, and was a one-off special case. Too, and that I was going to go, and that there are. It probably is probably. I wonder. Well, I don't. You know what? Do I have that information? I don't think I do. Well, it's not important, but you have this patent attorney, and then you kind of get to this part of his life where things are breaking up and changing, and there's these questions, there's this conflict, and then you see where that goes, but that's kind of also could be a problem too with it, which would be it is prestige, and unless you give it the patience, ample patience, the pacing may not really equal what it wants you to stick around with. But it doesn't take long. I think this is a very low and slow go, and there was kind of some weird dialogue that didn't really roll off quite a bit, and there's just only so many scenes that you can even put Jim Belushi in where he's going to be perfect. It's not going to happen, and that's true for everybody. I'm not saying he sucks or anything else like that, but he's a very good actor. But there are some things that kind of go a little bit that they kind of skip and jump a little bit, but
Yeah.
as
I
it
think
goes on, though. Oh, go
some of
ahead. Sorry.
the I was just gonna say some of the song choices can be a little bit too on the nose. I
Mm,
guess. Kind of interesting. I was thinking of the ending of the third episode
okay.
where they got the rising sun or whatever. That was
Yeah.
third episode is directed by Kathryn Bigelow, which you may know from various movies. She's more of a feature film director. I was trying to think. Her big one is Zero Dark 30 and Hurt Locker. But she also directed a little known vampire film called Near Dark, which I keep wanting a good copy of that to come out on 4K. She also did Point Break and Blue Steel. A lot of interesting movies. But yeah, well, Palms kind of fits right in her wheelhouse, I think, as a director. It's got enough weirdness to it, but it's
Director on
uh,
shout out to Life on the Streets,
yeah,
another
homicide.
Benchworthy alum
Hmm.
that we covered.
Yep. A
Yeah,
Strange
Point Break
Days.
was
Yep. Hmm.
yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, no, she's very very good. Well, and again, you get quality through this. It's just that I think probably the most wobbly episode is probably the first one. Just being objective. I mean, because that's probably where the ugliest it'll get is or is unpolished, because it does pick up, and it does, for me it does anyway. Especially in the second episode where you're he's Jim, he is transitioning from his old life to his new life. And there's a little bit more that goes on to that. And I also thought that it played with a lot of interesting concepts ahead of time in kind of unique ways. And I was interested. It didn't really spend time on that at all, which I thought would have been more interesting. But there's only so many things that they can cover, and they were already going for something else anyway. So, and what I'm talking about is like when you have that virtual reality, and then you have a spouse, and then they're talking about it. There would the conversation that happened in this episode it would not be a real conversation between a husband and a wife. I'll tell you that. But the wife is kind of already kind of I don't know, kind of out, I guess, Anyway, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's not much to spoil. But it's all part of the setup. I don't want to reveal too much, and they don't take too long to get there. But for me, it really catches it. I was I thought that it rolled through and it got more interesting. And some parts slowed down quite a bit, but I could see where that would drop some people out, because there's some things that drag that come up a little bit, more often than not, I guess. But I don't know. What did you think? Did the second time around? Did it change your original viewing habits and liking of all three, or would that fall for you?
Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, well, it's it was what early '90s when I saw it, so yeah, it's hard to
Been a minute.
remember exactly where my headspace was. I was a younger lad, so I was much more taken with the flash bang zoom of it all. But yeah, I was kind of that little Easter egg with Oliver Stone being on the TV. There's an interview, and if you listen to the dialogue, they go, "Oh, the file finally came out. You were right, Oliver Stone with JFK." I thought that was kind of a interesting little Easter egg.
Yeah.
Since it takes place in the future, in 2007, yeah, they were always wanting the JFK file to come out, and so they had a little fun with that. But yeah, I mean the show's pretty consistent. You have different directors for each of the episodes, but and there's certain scenes that are stronger than others.
Mm.
Um, I was kind of interested in, Ernie Hudson plays Jim Belushi's friend in this one, and even they even got Ernie Hudson. Normally he's sort of the everyman, the guy that you wouldn't mind having a friendship with, but in this,
Yeah.
they kind of make him play a little more sinister, and there's sort of a mystery to him in this, maybe ulterior motive for what's going on. So I think that plays well. It kind of tells you that Ernie Hudson does have a a little bit more of a range than you would think. Yeah, his character's a little more fascinating in this than what would have you might have seen on the surface of it, but has more layers to it. There's a
Yeah.
kind of the thing about this show is everybody's not quite what meets the eye. There's always a little bit more layers to them, and as the mystery gets deeper and deeper, you kind of kind of peel away the onion skin, as they like to
Yeah.
say.
I wonder. I wonder. This. I do think that if the right people came along, they could do something with this. Perhaps not quite like how this turned out. But it does play with. It does play with concepts way ahead of time that did become reality. And then when you throw AI on top of it, which is essentially, these things of, although I don't know, I guess certain things have become religion, and that's way ahead of its time. That's for damn sure. When it weaves in the political and just just this thing that, like, where you know you're you have I mean, I don't know. It covers a lot of cool. There's a lot. I just think that the first episode, you have to be very forgiving, because it does show its weaknesses first, I think, and I appreciate that, but it hides its strengths. Or it could just be that the pacing, and it gets going, and then finally you're into the thing. But when you get into it, it's not long, and I think that is true as you go through. And I was hooked. And then, I mean, where else are you going to see Ben Savage? I mean, he plays. He's a. This might be a little bit spoilery, but oh well. He's a kid. Programmed to kill on ABC. How the hell does that happen? It's just cool, also, because I also enjoy. That's also probably another nostalgia kind of point for me, anyway. It's like, oh, because I was really big into Corey and Topanga. So Boy Meets World growing up, but another
Yeah,
layer of appreciation from the past. But yeah, what's what you get for 35-year-old film, or more so.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah. I was kind of looking at Bruce Wagner, the writer of this, his other writing credits, and I saw one other of his movies. I didn't realize it was written by him. That Cronenberg movie, Map to the Stars, that came out in 2014.
Mm.
He wrote that as well. So I know that one's kind of weird as well. So and then there's a character in this show, another weird kid, that has like that sells maps to the stars, and he's got the weird star tattoo on his chest. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, and he also helped write the screenplay to Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. So he's got some interesting writing credits. He also yeah, he's yeah, kind of sporadic, but yeah, a lot of interesting work coming from him.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
oh yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say this is doped with just all kinds of. Yeah, I could probably make a better argument for cyberpunk, but it has some of the concepts that like I talked about before, altered carbons, stack tech, like that. Essentially, had that. That's like what their holographic immortality Go chip is, and then the meme zine, whatever the drug, that
Mhm,
again also very much true, and even in other shows too,
mhm,
like The Expanse as well. But that's a little bit out there,
mhm,
performance enhancing for sure. But
mhm,
and of course, we already talked about it at the very beginning of the show. William Gibson literally appears on the show. So you have the father of cyberpunk who walked on the set. So and it does have a little bit of a horror aspect to it, I suppose. But I really do
mhm,
enjoy the world building. That's one of the things I like. Anyway, I think it would work even better into the future because the where we're going and that, kind of some of these VR things. I appreciated how it did the technology too, the way that it did it as the analog to where it didn't really get into the techno, and that's probably why
mhm,
maybe it wasn't. It's a lot softer on the tech, right? So it's not
mhm,
any good sci-fi show or something that's going to have real good grip or it's going to be tractable for a longer period of time, maybe not forever. You got to have your techno babble. You got to have your, your kind of your gear, your something, along
yeah,
it. And this one didn't really, it just kind of talked about it really, you see it. And
mhm,
I didn't have a problem with that, but sometimes that's why. But, and anyway, I don't know if I have anything else to say. Or, do you have any other things you wanted to say? I think we covered most of it. To me, if you give it time, it's a binge worthy, and it has a lot of original things that it presents, and I think it does very well. And it would be cool to see this maybe done in a new way. I guess I don't know, but
yeah,
um,
maybe
uh,
a remake of it. But yeah, it's yeah, I did enjoy it. It is fun. It does have it bears its roots. So you got to be a little bit forgiving for the '90s. But yeah, interesting. I don't know if Jim Belushi works completely in the title role. It might have worked better with more of a Kyle MacLachlan kind of character in there, but yeah, it kind of
well,
works. His collars kind of grow on you.
and they obviously did that to kind of show that this is the future. This is kind of some kind of weird, kind of doing something just a little bit different than that, but it's not too goofy, but it is goofy. I mean, I don't know, just to kind of, and then it's like, oh, is that Belushi? Oh, wow, okay, it's jarring. But if you can get through that, it does reward you, I think, for the most part. It also depends on what you're into too. Like this is not something you sit down and if you want action packed, this you're and I don't know. I guess the other thing going against it too would be if for it to be remade. One would be they'd screw it up, and two, unironically, the I don't know that people would want to watch something where we're already living in a certain version of this already every day. It might not be. It might be too, as you said, too on the nose for what they're trying to do. But anyway, it's a fun little gem that's kind of hidden down in the rocks,
Yeah,
and certainly acquits itself a little better than other shows, or
yeah.
what would have been shows anyway.
Yeah, and like I said, it would work on with flying colors on a streaming service now, like with Apple. But at the time, it was on ABC regular TV, and you had to put your Pepsi commercials in the middle of it. So I don't know if it was the perfect fit for the show, but there wasn't really a place for it, at the time. So yeah, there was one of those shows that had to walk before the future of streaming could run. It was kind of filling out its way from
Sure.
the old trappings of TV to the new. It was trying to do something different, and you have to appreciate it for trying to be different and trying to say something a little bit different than what your average episode of Miami Vice was trying to say.
Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, nothing about that. But never going to beat Miami Vice. But it was good. It did kind of remind me a little bit here and there. Just the paranoid, sun bleached California weird. Just a little bit of Skinner Darkly. But and also David Lynch had nothing to do with any of this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
and this world has to do with Twin Peaks as well. That's what he's also said. So,
Hmm.
but
Yep.
of course, but no, this is his own thing. But I did appreciate it for what it was. But
Are you going to get a little palm tree tattoo to your hand, or?
no, I didn't live it that much. But I would probably have to read the books quite a few times. It'd have to captivate me. But never know. I'm not done with a few more tattoos in life, but who knows? But I think we're up to the end here, and it's a strong recommend for me. If you're into something and you want to be in and out, but you want to have something start and a middle and a finish, this has that for sure.
Yep, yep, which is unusual for television. That it would
Good
have
television.
a beginning, middle, and an end. But hey, this one definitely has that going for it.
Absolutely. Well, I've been Mike.
And I'm Tom. Keep it weird.